Welcome to the Masterclass. Excited here today to have Dave Powders with our official Masterclass number 6. Now, Dave Powders started off in the Eastern region. He currently resides in the Western region, runs the Bay Area division, but came up under Rich Plaskin. In fact, at one point was the pilot manager, and I would say one of the architects. If there was a Mount Rushmore for the PR program, Dave Powders would be on the mountain, and that is no small feat here. Just some quick statistics for Dave Powders. Some of you saw some of the pertinent information we've been posting on the BMDM group. The number one pilot in new business for the fall is Walnut Creek. That is Dave's pilot right there. The number one office in new business for the fall campaign is not Dave Powders, but it is his district, Kyle Lopes. The Bay Area is the number 6 division in new business for the fall. The division is number 3 in PPR for the fall campaign. It was number 13 in the summer out of about 42 divisions. Check this stat out. Bay Area division is up 256% in new business for the year. Wow. When I said the architect of the current PR program, Dave was always a top PR office starting in 2002 in Nashville, and he's one of the first innovators of the program. In 2002, in fact, he was number 1 in the nation for both Team Builder, which is PR, and sales from PR for the number of PRs in 2002. So 60 PRs did 240K back then, and that's 2002 numbers. That is something. Dave used to be the guy that would speak on this program at SLC. So it would be 2007, 2008, and 2010. We just kept going back to the well, and you can still see those archives on Vector Connect today. He's over $55 million in career sales. Some of you might be going, I'm not sure I know Dave. We understand that about 50% of our attendees at SLC any given year are 1, 2, 3 years in the company, and that's okay. Dave Powders would have been one of the last guys we just didn't have room for, what we call the bubble boy, right? So if you've got somebody that's almost on the agenda but just misses it, or somebody that just misses out of the money in poker, that's the bubble boy. So Dave Powders would be one of those this year, but was definitely one of the first guys that I secured, knowing that we were starting this Masterclass program because of what a great teacher he is in the business and the knowledge that he's bringing and some of the innovations that he's bringing. Of all the stats I posted on Vector Connect, on Facebook, this last one went from 3 social media recruits in the summer of 2019 to 33 this past summer, and those 33 individuals sold over $100,000 in Cutco CPO. That is something. Folks, Dave Powders and his family reside in the northern Bay Area, I want to say, of California. They're currently coming to you from Charlottesville, Virginia, home of his alma mater, which is UVA. Dave Powders, we're real glad that you're here. Thanks for joining us, my friend.
Thanks, man. Almost made it to Hurlman's to record this, but just not quite.
That would be a it the first time it would have been held at the same location. I don't even know if we got a shot at that the rest of the fall campaign. By the way, coming up next week, you want to note your calendars, is Dane Espegard. He'll be on here next week at 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern time, so you want to make sure that you got number 7 in the books. Dave Powders, why don't you get us kicked off here a little bit? I know you're pretty excited about some programs. For those of you that don't know, there's a PR task force, I think, that Bruce referenced a few times at SLC. It's still current, 7 years, I believe, running. This could even be the 8th. We're just about to start the 8th. Dave Powders, you've been on that PR task force from the beginning, yes?
I was on a different task force. I got added to it. So in the last 7 years, this is my 4th of 7, and it's awesome. The innovations that are coming from it. As a matter of fact, I'll be sharing a big thing from today that I'm hoping you all can take from this and start implementing it immediately and getting recruits right off the bat. And I think this can really help December, January. Getting those big seminars, but then once you have a big launch, getting those PR positive people to go next level with team building. So we'll get into that coming up.
So Dave, you've always been, I would say, a tremendous student of the business. And I know that's bandied about quite a bit, but you've backed it up with actual results where you'll study and you'll implement, especially in the fall, spring. Why don't you give us a bit of a feel for what your philosophies are about utilizing the non-summer to make big advancements in the summer?
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of you set up your Zoom right now, make sure you have the right people in your front row, but I'm afraid you might miss something if you're doing that. So that you got to do that early on. All right, here's what I want to get into. At the end of the summer, I was just looking back on the summer. Gilbert, great to see you here, Gilbert. He sent out a report that showed, in fact, I'll share my screen in a minute to share with you something, but it got me thinking about something. And the report basically, as I was looking at it, there were 4 managers in the Western region who had crossed the 150 active recruit threshold. And all 4 of those managers did over $500,000 in new business. So what I'm always trying to do in the fall and spring is I'm looking for a target. I'm looking for, all right, what are the programs that we can strengthen in the fall and spring so that going into the summer, we have confidence in them, and we can run those programs with a lot of confidence from a position of strength versus it's kind of like what Dane said. Maybe this was at SLC DVM meeting, but the SMRA program, Dane felt like if he got on it last summer, he felt like he didn't have enough runway. And so he chose not to, and they had a great summer anyway. Whereas now he's really digging into the SMRA program, right? So I'm always trying to figure out what are the programs that I can dig into and get better with. And I'm going to start off by sharing this with you. Give me a thumbs up if you can see all these numbers. We pretty good? That work, Jake Meiser? Thanks, JB. All right. So I tried to bold the 4 Western region. There you go. All right. So what I was looking at was there were 4 managers in the Western region that had over 150 active recruits. Let's define active, right? So active recruits are the recruits we have to work for, PRs and social media. Okay. And we should love all types of recruits. But when I think about web, Craigslist, and mailers, we don't really have to work for those. We just decide how many am I going to send for? How am I going to pay for it? Right. Okay. So let's start off with Stuart. Stuart had 201 active recruits. So this I got this report from Olean. Gilbert sent the first one. And then I said, okay, is 150 active recruits, is that the number? So I sent out a request to info support, and Rachel Weaver got all this data back to me. It was every manager this summer, branch, DM, DVM, doesn't matter. Every manager this past summer that had 150 active recruits. All right, so look at Stuart. You'll see Stuart had 529,000 in business from 201 active recruits. And by the way, I know a lot of managers, they take their social media recruits and they categorize them as PR. I don't care about that stuff. I was just looking at social media plus PR, 150 up. All right. So Stuart, 201 for 529,000. Kuval, 193 PRs and social media recruits. And by the way, I would put campus in that too, but obviously campus is active, but going into this summer, we didn't know what we were doing there with the pandemic. Anyway, Cuvey, he had 193 recruits, 612 grand new business. Kyle Lopes, branch manager, 161 active recruits, 582,000 new business. And then Ben Lee in Ventura, 160 recruits, 519. So I was just thinking when I initially saw what Gilbert put together, and then I went to Olean to see, all right, as Rachel got this back to me, I started to think, what would happen if all 8 of our district offices this next summer had 150 active recruits, right? And so it's like everything we're doing right now, it's to get better at programs. It could be PR name collection. It could be the team builder program that I'm going to talk about. It might be something that we just learned Kristen Alley does in Queens that she does on Wednesday nights to get every rep to send a 3-way text to just 3 people. Think about that for a minute, right? If you had 40 people at a team meeting and 40 people sent out 3-way texts on your behalf, and you have an assistant manager following up with, 120 people on a Thursday. Boy, that could be big, right? All right. But as I looked at the report, here are kind of the numbers to take from this. On average this summer, and this was everybody that had 150 active recruits, but on average, if you were part of these, 40 something people, on average, they had 222 active. They did 528 grand, and their productivity was a little less than 2,400. So I came away from this thinking, okay, the number is no longer 150 active recruits. The number is, if you want to do $500,000 of new business, right? The number becomes 200 active recruits. Now, maybe you get to 275 with other recruiting sources, right? But so when I think about having a target, everything in the Bay that we're focusing on right now, it's all geared toward getting better with active recruiting so that every manager could get roughly 200 active recruits. And right, again, it's the idea of what would happen if 8 offices, if 8 districts did $500,000 of new business, that would be huge. So I just wanted to show you that to start with, because this is how my brain is approaching the fall and spring. It's all about active recruiting right now.
Dave, just to highlight what you're saying here, several thoughts here. This is almost seeming like the one thing, right? The one thing that makes everything else irrelevant or just easy. You know what I'm saying? But Dan Cassett has notes here in the chat. I just want to make you aware of them as well, Dave. 8 offices at 150 active recruits equals $4 million in the division in new business for the summer. I mean, this is remarkable when you start thinking about what this can do here. So the question that's starting to emerge early here, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, is this a new metric that we might be looking at that moves us ahead? And as we're considering that answer here, and maybe we don't have an answer today, something that Stuart mentioned there earlier, and I want to just recognize Stuart here for just acknowledging this. He's saying, hey, my numbers might not be as accurate because most of them were incorrectly listed as PRs. I think when we can you imagine that there was a time before Vector Connect Vector Live, that is, where we didn't have Vector Live. We didn't have a standardized way to be able to track recruits. And the reality is we're only as good as our statistics, right? We're only as good as our information. So if we could start getting the word out to keep better statistics, let's keep better statistics. Let's keep accurate results. Here's what I'm willing to bet. Those that are going to bubble up to the top will probably have better stats than everybody else, right? I don't think Tiger Woods is like not counting foot wedges. I think he's counting every single stroke that he takes out there, and that's the way that he can start to improve. So, Dave, back to you, my friend. What else are you thinking about here?
Well, when you mentioned, the one thing, I just feel like in our business, we're talking about PRs all the time. We should be, okay? No question about it. But something that hit me this summer, it was after we collected some names from a sharp applicant. I think it was Kat Rogers. And we got 2 of her friends launched the next week just from, regular PR, collecting names, following up. But my Dom, Carson Painter, he posted something on a Snapchat story of the success that our Walnut Creek pilot was having. And he had tagged a bunch of people. And one of the people that he tagged was Kat. And something that Carson and I figured out was, when looking at Kat's profile, is she had over 3,000 Instagram followers. And I remember saying to Carson, I said, okay, I'm not trying to say name collection isn't important. Name collection is vital. But if we're not tapping in to social media, I mean, let's be real, our reps, 10 years ago when they would submit names, they communicated with their friends through text message. Now a lot of them are communicating with their friends through Snap or Instagram or now TikTok. And what happened was Carson and I had this realization that, oh my gosh, if we can find a way to tap into the social media, the friends that our reps have through social media, the PRs we could get through social media. And that's where this team builder Snap party originated from. It was this idea of, we are leaving a lot on the table if we think name collection is end all be all. And so that's why when I talk about this 150 active recruits or 200 active recruits, it really is social media plus PRs, because if we are not going after social media, we are leaving so much business on the table. So I just wanted to reference that, Trent, before I get into all things, team builder or Snap party, whatever we want to talk about.
Yeah, this is fresh. When I say it's fresh and brand new, again, I'm going to reiterate our disclaimer here at the Masterclass series. No changes to your program without checking with your DVM. Once again, no changes, not some, not a few, no changes without consulting with your DVM. Now, that might be as simple as, hey, DVM, I went and took amazing notes. There's a new program on Snapchat parties, and this has already been blessed by the task force. I know how to lead it in the division. Let me walk you through it. What do you think? You might be the change agent in your division, but we're not making that unilaterally without consulting with somebody that has perspective. They've got a little bit more of a global view, and we want to make sure that we're saving us from ourselves. So, Dave Powders, let's go a little bit deeper into Snapchat party, because here's what's interesting. You're describing, I've tried to get on Snapchat like 5 or 7 times, and I just I've now figured out, okay, oh, that's the one I'm not going to figure out. I'm even still on TikTok, but I can't understand Snapchat. I just can't get into making it relevant on a day to day. But I'm 46. People half of my age, that is where they're really connecting. They're not even texting back and forth, they're snapping.
Right. Right.
So, talk to us a little bit about how you've been able to unlock or at least get some initial success here with Snapchat.
Okay. So here's basically what happened. Um, you've all hopefully seen Trey Ketchum or Ben Jackson's team builder program. And the idea was once somebody is PR positive, either they gave you a bunch of PR names during name collection and training, or they've launched a friend or two. So you all have those levels contests, right? If Jake Miser gets two people to start and they hit their $1,000 promotion, Jake wins something, right? So there's the levels contest, and then there's your name collection. So what Ben and Trey did is they said, when somebody's PR positive, we're going to run this extra small workshop for them. And it basically evolved into what they call in the Eastern region as the 1 hour early program. So like 1 hour before their Wednesday team meeting, if Jake Miser's PR positive, then my Dom, Jeremy Blau, and I invite Miser in early, and we say, hey man, I want to work with you and help you basically through social media get some more PRs because you're already at the level 2 contest, and I want to help you get to level 3 and level 4. So basically Jake comes in for 1 hour and they get a chance to work with him. So what we did this summer is we took that program, and I remember saying, why would I invite 1 or 2 people in when I could just get basically everyone who's PR positive from the previous launch? Okay, so everybody see if you can, so make sure you're with me on this. Somebody's fast start, let's say, ends on Monday. What I would do on Monday is I would reach out to what Carson and I would call PR positive people that are finishing their fast start that day. We found 2 ways for somebody to be PR positive. Either number 1, they submitted a bunch of PR names, right? So if Jenna submitted 240 PR names on the final day of training, it doesn't matter if she has a PR in our eyes or not yet. She's PR positive. She recommended a bunch of people, so we would invite her to this, right? Let's say that Mitch launched a person or 2 from the past week. So our feeling was if someone had a launch under their belt because of the PR program, or they submitted a bunch of names, what I would do is I would reach out to people on a Monday and I would just say, hey, Mitch, tomorrow at 1 o'clock, I'm going to run a team builder workshop, and it's designed, Mitch, to help everybody level up in the PR contest. So I know you already had a friend hit their first promotion, and I now owe you a veggie peeler. Now I want to remind you that if you have another friend who starts, that you would win a $25 gift card, which basically means that, Mitch, I'm going to Venmo you 25 bucks. But I want to invite you in tomorrow from 1 to 2, and I want to show you how to use Instagram and Snapchat to really build your team and to win a bunch of stuff. How do you feel about that? So this was the convert. So I was it was a live call to people basically to vet them. Do they want to show up? Right. And what was interesting about this was just about everybody that I personally invited to on Monday, everybody I invited from Monday to Tuesday, our show to this was really high. Now, maybe it's because Carson, my Dom, did a lot of the managing, or maybe it's because we were reaching out to the right people and they were PR positive, and therefore they wanted to win extra stuff. But we invited them Monday to a meeting on Tuesday, and I let them know it was going to be a 1 hour meeting. And then this is basically what we would do. And again, I think if you implement this, you could basically, you could do, I mean, I guess I'll get into how fast you can implement this with a story, but let me just keep going. All right. So Tuesday at 1 o'clock, I might have 5 people in front of me. I think at one point we had 10 people show up. And I remember saying, oh, I know what it was. It was the first time we ran it. Maybe we had 4 or 5 people and we had a lot of success, but I didn't realize how easy it was for somebody to send out 200 snaps at once. Okay. And so we had 10 people or 11 people at like our second version of this. And I remember saying to my Dom, our goal today is to get 2,000 snaps sent out. All right. And we accomplished that. Now, I didn't know what was going to happen from it, but we ended up launching 13 people from it between that week and the next week. 13. Okay. So, and this was in the summer. So more people looking for work than, let's say, now. Okay. Or they're not stressed with school. So let me back up. So it's a 1 hour meeting. So here's what I would do. The first part of the meeting, everybody would come on Zoom, right? And Oh, and I do want to say this. What I used to do is after I would PDI somebody and they would say, "Yeah, Jake, I'm in on Tuesday," I would just say, "Great, I'll send you the link tomorrow morning." And so I would send them the link Tuesday morning, and then an hour before, I would just shoot them a text saying, "Hey, I'm looking forward to this. I'll see you in an hour." So, but I was really taking it seriously. Like I didn't just invite them on Monday. I was going to really promote this. So I invited them Monday. I sent them the link Tuesday morning, and then an hour before, probably noon on Tuesday, I'm just saying, "Hey, Jake, I'm excited for what we're going to do. Alexis, this is going to be awesome. I'll see you in an hour." Okay, so we did this Tuesday from 1 to 2 because it worked well with the schedule. In the non-summer, we've been trying to do it on Sunday or Monday because most people's class schedule on Sunday, it's easier for them to attend. But that being said, for reps doing demos, we've had plenty of people say, "Oh, I scored an appointment and therefore I'm not going to do it." So maybe you could do it, Hans, Monday night if you really wanted to. All right, so here's what happens. We start the meeting Tuesday. It's a 1-hour meeting. It's really 30 minutes of us teaching and then 30 minutes of then snapping or sending a bunch of messages on Instagram. And it would start by me talking about how we want to build the team, with you. We want to build the team around you. We want to equip you with skills. We want you to become a team builder. And then I would basically ask them, who do you think are the best reps at selling Cutco? And I don't know if you're familiar with the book Grit, okay? But Angela Duckworth, this was my favorite book I read in 2017. And in the book, she talks about how Harvard came to her and said, "Look, we have all these amazing people that get into Harvard, and then they don't graduate from Harvard, and so we're trying to figure out what it is." So basically, if intelligence is all about the same, right? You have all these highly intelligent people at Harvard. If intelligence is the same, what was the difference maker? And what she found was if somebody did an extracurricular activity in high school for 2 years or more. Okay, if somebody did an extracurricular activity for 2 years or more. So they didn't have to be an athlete. They could have been in debate. Okay, I think about somebody who was in dance since they were 5 years old, somebody who was in band, orchestra. My brother was a clarinetist, right? Was he all that athletic? No, but he was first chair clarinetist as a sophomore in high school, which had never happened in our high school. So his grit came from practicing the clarinet every day, right? So they talk about grit comes from if somebody played an extracurricular for 2 years or more, then they had two things. They had passion. They were passionate about something, and then perseverance. Because look, there's times where Richard's got to go to baseball practice and he doesn't want to go to baseball practice, but he goes because he knows that's what he does. Or Stuart's got to go to violin lesson. Does he always want to play the violin? No, but it's like, I know I gotta do it. Okay, so I would talk about to our reps about race doesn't matter, age doesn't matter, socioeconomic status doesn't matter, the zip code in which they live does not matter, which is so funny because the number one rep in the Western region this summer from Hans's office came from a part of LA that is not a great part of LA. And he sold $60,000, right? So anyway, I would talk about grit to start this off. These are the best people. And you see the head nods. Someone's like, "Oh yeah, I'm not an athlete, but Dave's speaking my language here, right? Because I was in debate or I was president of National Honor Society." So I talk about the best recruits. Okay. And then after we did that, I would play Caitlin Ketchum's video. It's like a 3-minute video on basically how she got a random message from somebody. She had a job and she got a random message. I think it was on Instagram, Facebook, something. And she started selling Cutco. And she just talks about how social media is a great way to recruit and lots of companies use it. All right. So it's a 3-minute video from Caitlin. Then I had Emma McLaughlin. I would have Emma speak. Now, I have recordings of 2 of these that I can give to you. And by the way, I have a handout that has all this stuff on there. So, right, if you're like, "Hey, where can we get the video?" When you look at my handout, you can click and there it is. Okay. And so what would happen is Emma would talk about what she did to she ended up getting 11 PRs this summer that sold 77 grand. Now, unfortunately, because Emma got promoted to be an assistant manager early in the summer, she got moved from the team builder scholar or the team builder silver cup to the assistant manager team builder silver cup. I think next year, if somebody gets promoted during the summer, they're going to stay on the other one. But what happened was Emma got 11 recruits that sold 77 grand. She would have been number 5 if she was still registered on the other report. But if you can find Emma's name, okay? So anyway, Emma would talk about what she would do on Instagram and Snapchat, and she would talk about how all of you right now should post something on your story, right? And then she would talk about how to put on their Instagram bio, link in bio. She would show them where to find their social media link, their PR link. You obviously hopefully know this stuff. So she would show them where to find the PR link, to put link in bio in Instagram. She would show them to do a swipe up in Snapchat. But the idea was, let's get everybody to post on their story. And she would give them a couple of examples of good snaps or of good messages they could DM on Instagram. Like Emma would talk about how one of the biggest responses she had to social media was she got like a $300 direct deposit, but it was the week she was moving. So she only had one day to work and she sold $1,000 and she made $300. And on her story, she wrote something like, I was only able to work one day. I love my job, flexible, and I can make good money, something like that. So it wasn't the one where she got a $1,200 direct deposit. Some people look at that and go, oh, I don't know if that's true. Okay. So Emma would speak for about 15, 20 minutes. And then after Emma would speak, I would speak and kind of rail on how stories are not the end all be all. So let me give you an example. When you're looking on your Instagram or you're looking on your Snapchat, we all do it where we look and we start doing this move, right? We want to get through the stories as quickly as we can because Jeremy Bell and I are sitting together and somebody has a 19, right? It's like, let me get through this pretty quickly. So with stories, we want our reps to post at every team meeting. We want to take advantage of group functions, right? Like at every team meeting, we want people to post on their story. But I give the example of posting on your stories like it's an advertisement. That's all it is. And sometimes you need to see an ad 14 times, okay, before you take action on something. So we want everyone to post on their story, but then I say, all right, everybody, here's where you can really make a move. When somebody sends you a snap or when somebody sends you a DM on Instagram, you pause and you look at it. And I talk about how Emma, she got her first 2 of her 11 recruits from us doing PR follow-up. The other 9 she got from social media. And this is what she did. She sent out 150 snaps to 150 people. Now, ideally, they'd be 150 gritty people, but some people, they can learn grit from selling Cutco. So I don't want to say, let's only send it to gritty people. And what would happen is I talked about how Emma got 9 of her 11 PRs from social media. So if we didn't do any of this stuff with Snapchat or Instagram, Emma gets 2 PRs. Because of social media, she got 11, right? She was the #1 team builder in the Western region, and she would have been number 5 in the summer in the other category. Okay, so then what we do is we kicked off basically a snap party or an Instagram message party. Now, I want to give credit to Hans for this because going into the summer, Hans and Kuvi gave me a little bit of ammo with social media because I felt like in the summer of 2019, when I was asking our team in Walnut Creek to post at a team meeting, when I was asking them, hey, everybody, go ahead and post on your social media that we have work available. It was like pulling teeth. And I said to Hans, I'm like, what do you do? Because every week your people post. He's like, oh, I just say for every platform on which you post, I'll put you in a drawing for a $25 gift card. And so somebody might post on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, LinkedIn. They'd get 4 chances to win $25. So at the beginning of the summer, I started doing that. And we had people posting like clockwork. So I just said to my Dom, I'm like, we're going to keep rolling with that, right? Indefinitely. Like I will give away $25 in the month of May every week. And then when we hit June and July, I'm just going to give away $50. All right. So I share that with you because whenever you're trying to get something off the ground, you got to get more energy behind it. So after I would do this intro for the team builder meeting, and after Emma would speak, I was trying to set up that I wanted them to send lots and lots of snaps and or DMs on Instagram. And so to do it, this is what I said. I said, all right, so everybody, we have time right now, right? If I ran the meeting from 1 to 2, it was 1:30. And I would say, all right, everybody, we have time right now for you to send out, dozens and dozens and hundreds of snaps. And then I would say, hey, Emma, really quickly, can you show everybody the quickest way to send 200 snaps? And then she would show them. And I would say, here's what I'm going to do. For every 50 snaps that you send or DMs on Instagram, I'll Venmo you $10. So if you send out 100, I'll Venmo you 20. You send out 150, I will Venmo you 30, right? We had somebody send out 500. Great. I paid them. And we just kicked off, and then it was like, all right, go. And I would say, hey, message me in the chat once you've done it. And when people would say, Dave, I sent my first 50, I'm like, Venmo you $10 right now, Haley, right? Dave, I got out another 50. Oh, Haley, here's another 10 coming your way. And we were having fun with it. Somebody's playing music, we're goofing around, and I found two things happen from this. One, because I was, you know, uh, look, I was rewarding people for work, maybe bribing people to get something done here, but we were rewarding people for doing this. And the other thing is, as it was happening, we were having fun. People started to, they were getting developed. Okay, they were getting developed, right? It's like you've all heard the best way to develop people. It's you got to spend time with them. Well, if you were to pipe into a Walnut Creek key staff meeting or a team builder meeting, you would see us having fun, joking around, and very quickly people are like, "Hey, Dave and Carson, these guys are pretty cool to work with," and people wanted to be around us, right? Even though it was Zoom. And so this 1 to 2 o'clock meeting, the first time we ran it, I don't know how many snaps we sent, but I started to realize, oh my gosh, this thing is powerful. And on a we had a Tuesday where we missed it. We like didn't run the team builder meeting, and our interviews looked terrible going into Wednesday. And I asked my Dom, I said, hey, let's look at all of our PR positive people that we have on the team right now. And I basically looked at everybody who had a minimum of one PR launch, or maybe they were at 3. So they were one PR launch away from leveling up to level, 4 PRs over 1,000. And Carson basically had one-on-one calls with people in the morning before our day began about, hey, for every 50 snaps you send, Dave will, I can't remember what we did. I don't know if we put him in a drawing to win something, but we got about 700 snaps or DMs on Instagram sent from this. And it just all of a sudden started filling up interviews for Wednesday, Thursday. So we started to realize this will impact your recruiting immediately. Now, I mentioned that I believe if you could do a snap party with all of your TLA and reps on the team to help you, go after the January program. Also, after you launch your first class in December for that program, when their fast start is over, you could be sitting down with them doing this team builder workshop for them. But here's how quickly things can move for you. It was 2 Thursdays ago. We were running a team meeting on a Thursday night. And I was really frustrated with how we had some good people that had not been to a team builder meeting. And I said to Carson, I said, okay, our team meeting was 7 to 9 that night. I said, at 7:45, Carson, let's do a breakout. Emma and I will take 5-6 people and we will run the team builder workshop for them. We're not going to do the 30-minute deal. We're going to have to condense it into like 12 to 15 minutes. And then we'll get people snapping. And we got about 700 to 800 snaps sent out that night. And the funny thing is, Friday, I was running my key staff meeting, and Chloe said to me, she's our number 1 rep for the fall. She said, Dave, do you know one of my friends was interviewed this morning? And I said, no, I haven't even checked. I forgot we had a Friday morning interview. What's his name? And she told me. And then she said, by the way, that's Remy's best friend. Remy recommended a bunch of people using the app, but he didn't recommend that guy. And if it weren't for Chloe sending out all those snaps, we would have missed him. And instead, I will be training him tomorrow. So it just shows you how fast you can get results with this. All right, so let me just pause for a minute and kind of come up for air.
Thanks, Dave. We have a question here from Josh Thayer. He's saying, in the message, do they tell people to go to a website, or how does the follow-up work to get people scheduled for interviews?
We put everything, Josh, on the social media link. We just had everybody, like if they posted something on Instagram, or if they sent somebody a message on Instagram, they would say, by the way, links in bio, right? And link in bio to apply. And if somebody sent a snap, it was a swipe up. So we had everybody using their PR link, which was good because then then they could apply to other offices, right? One of Emma's PRs had a 4K fast start in Fresno, and that didn't come through a Google form that I had to get to the manager, Michael. It just went right to him. So we just had everybody use their social media PR link from Vector Connect.
Hans, as an update, said they took 22 applications from a team event last week, did a drawing for 4 $5 gift cards at Starbucks, and have 12 social media scheduled for training this week. Hans, nice update, man. That's fired up. So this is happening. This is moving. Same message sent if IG and Snap for simplicity. That's a question, I guess. Are we sending the same message, Dave, whether we're talking Instagram or Snapchat?
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I'm not even sure the message matters as much as how many messages are going out, right? Like when we had that meeting and I said, our mission is to get 2,000. And as it was happening, I'm like, there is no way we're going to get 2,000 snaps. And then it did. And I remember, I think I was sharing on our DVM call or something. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen from it, but I would think only good things. And then we ended up getting 13 recruits, and we started to realize this meeting should be run every week with everybody who's coming out of their fast start, who's PR positive. Again, we didn't go after everyone. We went after the PR positive people. But we had more people this summer. Like if you have that old PR tracking board, right? Remember the field training tracking boards in our office, and there's also a PR tracking board. We had more people this summer who got to 3, 4, and 5 than ever before. I mean, 2 summers ago, I had a rep Connor O'Day, and Connor was our number 1 team builder on the team. I think he was number 2 in the region, but he had like 4 PRs that sold 50 or 60 grand. And we just had so much trouble getting people past that 4 mark. Why? We weren't utilizing social media. And now we just had a guy this past week, Nesta. He just got his 7th PR over 1,000 since he started in, I don't know, June. And so he's 1 away from 8, which is kind of our final level and our most important level because that's the trip. But I just have to tell you that in the past we weren't. So like I wouldn't get caught up in what the message is. It's how many can get sent out.
So Nest has 7 now. When you and I spoke, you only had 6, and you have Haley. So your top 3 team builders this year are 11, 6, and 7, right?
Yeah, and by the way, Kyle Lopes too. Kyle had his top team builder. He had 2 at 8. I think he's got 1 at 7 right now. And so this started as a pilot program, and then I was like explaining this to my DMs, and I see Richard's on, and I just said, you know what? So it must have been a week or 2 where I'm like, here's the outline, everybody, here's the outline. And I said, screw it. I will run one for everybody. You just have to get people to it. And who knows? The future of this, it might be a divisional type of program where all the well, again, it's going to depend on your division, but this was so impactful that it's, for us anyway, I mean, this should be an every week thing, let alone whether it's at every level or it's happening at the divisional level for everybody. But I believe this should be happening every week for your PR positive people. And you can also have other people come back. So the girl I was telling you about, Kat Rogers, she had 3,000 something followers on Instagram. So we had like Kat came to a team builder meeting and she sent out a few hundred snaps. And then I had a call with her where I said, hey, how many more or it was on Instagram. And I said, how many more friends do you have on Instagram you could message? She's like, oh my gosh, probably another 1,000, 1,500. And we would just ask that question and we would invite them back to attend it again and again. Now, they didn't need the first 25 minutes of it. So I would say, hey, Kat, I want you to come next Tuesday, or I want you to come tomorrow, but you can log on at 1:25. Don't worry about logging on at 1 o'clock because you already know the first part of it. And the cool thing happened was that some of our people that would log on to do this over and over and over, they would start sharing stuff. Like Sienna would say, oh, everybody, this is something I did last week. Look at my post. This generated a lot of interest. So I'm going to do a variation of that. Right. And then Steph said, oh, this is what I did. And all of a sudden it became or very organically, instead of me or Emma saying, this is what you should post, they got feedback from other people that had success.
Dave, the question here from Josh Thayer, is the ratio about 1 launch per 100 messages, or is that shifted at all? We don't know yet.
I have no idea, okay. Unfortunately, because sure. I mean, I remember at the time I was tracking it, but so I don't know a metric. But for everybody who's asking if you want a recording of this or Caitlin's video or an outline, I have a 1-page document that has everything I covered. Included in that is Caitlin's video you can click on. And at the very bottom, it has a link. It has the 30-minute recording. So I've got 2 of these I can give you. One of them is 30 minutes where you just see Emma. You see Emma and me setting the whole thing up, and then it ends. And then the other one you see, it's an hour 10. So it has us setting it up, and it's got like 35 or 40 minutes of people sending snaps, and wow. That would be a fun one to watch. I realize it's 70 minutes, but you'll see some big numbers from that.
You know, there's some interaction in the chat that I want to bring here to the recording, just in case somebody's listening to this later and doesn't get a chance to read through the chat. By the way, when we send out the link to the video archive on Zoom, it includes an audio version you can download and just drop into your iTunes. That way you can listen to it on your phone like it's a podcast. And as well, the chat is available there in text form. So you could just download both, and that way, not just the video, all 3 are available. The question here was Mitch Stevens asking, hey, it's a positive problem type of question. As you get this rolling with tons of people messaging. Any issues with overlap? So he's gone back and forth on whether or not that even matters. The same person getting 3 or 4 messages from different people. Now, Hans has answered this, I think, already, and it's already been appreciated. But what's your take on that, Dave?
I agree with Hans. I mean, I want people. It'd be great if I had 3 people from the same grade, from the same high school, sending out a bunch of these messages, and someone's like, "Man, I'm getting that message 3 times." Right? It's like you've probably heard Trey Ketchum talk about this. That when somebody would get recommended to the job, a certain amount of times from one of his best high schools, he would just have his dom call the person like, "Look, man, your friend Mitch, okay, Alexis, Dan, Kevin, John, Dana, and Loretta, they all recommended you. They all think you should do the job. I'm not going to send you another text, but I think you should at least check it out." So I think overlap is good, and we really didn't worry about it. Our feeling was just we're going to maximize the number of messages. So Jeremy Blau had asked, how do we track the number of snaps? Yeah, they would send a screen recording, and that we would be able to see it. Yeah.
Thanks, Dave. Looks like my internet's in and out here a little bit. Hans's answer here specifically in the chat was overlap is positive. It creates credibility. So echoing a lot of what you're saying there, Dave. Rule of advertising, many don't respond until they've seen advertising 5 times. I want them to see it from multiple people. And thanks for that there. Lindsay asking, are team builders only messaging their personal network, or do you have them send out messages to others in the area as well? I know staffers send out IG DMs, but I'm curious if you have reps do this too, Dave.
No, this was all to their network. Okay, if somebody had 1,800 followers on Instagram, then my goal was, can I get them to send 1,800? Maybe not today. Maybe it's going to take 4, right? It's like Tuesday's the intro meeting. In a perfect world, we would do Tuesday for a 1-hour meeting. And then on Sunday, they would come into, or they would, Zoom in to work with Emma for another 30 minutes or something. So if I got Mitch to send 400 snaps on Tuesday, I would invite him back on Sunday, not for the full 25-minute intro, but just have a handful of people that have a lot of snaps or Instagram messages that they could send. So we would do a Tuesday full-blown meeting. Sunday, it's just kind of like a snap party. Tuesday, the full-blown meeting, because I've got reps that finish their fast start Monday. And then, so ultimately we'd be inviting them in multiple times. Okay, this is how I think about, that's how Haley and Nesta both got, 6, 7 PRs, was they attended this multiple times. And the thing is, they look, they're always on their Instagram and their Snapchat, so it's an easy ask. I know we love 3-way texting, and part of the old team builder program that Ben and Trey came up with was like, when you sit down with somebody, you'd like to be able to get them to 3-way text. If they 3-way texted 25 people in AT1, it's like, let's get them to 3-way text 25 more people. In theory, I love that, but a lot of our people, they live on Instagram and Snapchat. It's not so much with texting. So let's play to what they're comfortable with. And that's what we did this summer.
I can text my son, and like I might wait an hour for a response, but if I snap him, and I might just log in to actually get a hold of him. He's 16, but I don't think it's that far off from what our people are dealing with. CJ Marshall, just as a heads up for everybody, yes, it sounds like the team builder meeting's already recorded. A link to that will be forthcoming in the handout that we will make available through the BMDM group. Again, if you're only on Facebook for the Masterclass BMDM group, I would recommend that you would log in weekly at least to check in what we're doing there. We will be posting updates. We will be posting links to handouts and a link to the Caitlin Ketchum video. Already lots of shout outs today. Looks like we should have Caitlin Ketchum at some point. Maybe we'll see if she can't join Trey in his December Masterclass. That would be fun. Case Koenig saying, hey, more action equals more results. That sounds like a true vectorism there. Josh Thayer saying, love one-page docs. Thank you. Excellent. Jeremy, how are you tracking how many snaps they send? And are they sending you a screen recording or something? How do you know, Dave?
Yeah, screen recording.
Great. Are they They're not recording everyone they send. They're just saying, hey, here's how many I sent. Screen grab and go.
Right.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Had a rep send 200 snaps yesterday, but don't have any apps in the Google form. Definitely an area of opportunity for us in SD. Working on that, Jeremy. All right. Jenna is
And by the way,
asking.
let
Go
me
ahead.
mention something, Jeremy, for that is that's one of the reasons why I like using the I feel like the company is split here on, oh, we love Google Form or we love
Sure.
the PR link that sends everything to company conveyor. I just we went toward that because it was really easy to match people up, and we didn't want to play the game of, okay, whose PR are they? It was just, hey, they clicked on it, so they already got linked to. But also, we could see the results, and we didn't have to have anybody staring at the Google form all the time. So.
Hmm. Dave, what else should we cover here with Snap? I know we've got a bunch of other topics here to cover here. We're already at the halfway mark, which is crazy. Anything else we should cover on this one here, or we got that one
Let me pull up the doc just to see if there's anything that is. Let's see here. Yeah, we've covered everything.
All right, dealer's choice here. We've talked a little bit in our pre-interviews here about reps over 3K and about zero sellers, and we've also got the parent meeting on deck here. So, what direction you want to go next?
I think the parent meeting turned into something that was really cool. That I think we should talk about the parent meeting.
All right, let's go parent meeting. Now, if we could set this up for just a second. Back in the day, maybe give me some jazz hands if you've been involved with a parent meeting somewhere, either in your office or in your division. Lots of you. Okay, so back in the day, we used to have people drive after work. Parents would drive after work to our office. Which, listen, my office wasn't awesome, but I got 18-year-olds walking in. I don't care. Well, when their 40-something or 50-something dad walks in, it's less awesome. All right, back my crappy folding chairs with the carpets that didn't match in the same room. I mean, all of it was just not great. Not to mention we were always doing it in May or June, which in Canada meant that we had hockey games on. So I was in Montreal, and the Habs would be playing a game invariably that night. I'd set it up in January, and of course they're playing a playoff elimination game that night. It hurt my show, and the people who did come were upset because they're made to go by their kid and by their wife. Does this sound awesome so far? The meeting was 90 minutes long because we wanted to justify their existence, the fact that they came all the way, found parking, and came into my office. And then I bought food, I bought coffee and all this extra stuff. I'm saying it was, why did I keep doing it? It sounds painful because of the buy-in that we would eventually get. But the barrier to entry for a 40-something-year-old was very high. I've got parent-teacher meetings supposed to happen next week. Can I tell you how much I detest going to parent-teacher meetings? I'd rather take a petite carver in the eye than go to another parent. My kids are good kids. They're doing great. I don't want to go to school. I don't have to go to school anymore. So, Dave Powders, let's talk about what one of the unanticipated consequences of the pandemic was this year. Everybody's got it on Zoom, and you decided to do something different with the parent meeting. Hit us.
All right. So here's what we decided to do. Hans writes, do you have a recording of the parent meeting? Yes, I do. We put it on, we did record it. As a matter of fact, the first one, Trent, as Trent and I were talking about this, going into the summer, he's like, you got to record it. And when I saw all these parents at the first one, I just started talking, and it was like 10 minutes in, I'm like, oh man, I have not recorded it. And so we did record one of them. So here's what we did. If you've listened to Ben Jackson talk about pushes in the last like 3 SLCs, he's spoken about them. One of the things he talks about is getting parent buy-in. So if your reps if their parents are bought into why they're doing this and they're bought into how this can help them long-term, mom and dad are going to open up that lead book for the kids. And so I asked Ben, I got Ben's, I got Ben, his slides for his teacher meeting, his notes, same thing with the senator, Brett Wiggins, and then Logan Franke. And I took those 3 and I basically took what I liked best from them, very similar to what I did with Ben and Trey's team builder program, right? I take what I like and see if we can iterate on it. And here's what we did. I wanted to have a parents meeting basically 5 or 6 days before every summer push. I'll say that again. I wanted to have a parents meeting 5 or 6 days before every push, because if I could get the parents locked in, right, aligned with their sons or daughters, grandsons, granddaughters, if I could get the alignment there, it would help the rep to have more buy-in. They wouldn't hear they'd have more leads to call, don't get me wrong, but they would also understand why their son or daughter was working so hard. So what I did was I sent out a message to basically, I made a list of, all right, who do I want to invite to the parents meeting? And the first one that we ran, it must have been, I know what it was. It was May 28th because our SC1 push started June 1st. So this is what I did. On May 18th, okay, so basically 10 days before the parents' meeting, I sent out a text to people saying something to the effect of, hey, Isaiah, hey, Kinsey, hey, Emma, I'd love to invite your parents to a parents' meeting that I'm going to run on Zoom. And obviously, if we weren't in a pandemic, I'd invite them into my office and I'd cater it, but I can't do that, obviously. And so I'd like to spend 35 minutes with them. It'll be on Zoom. It'll be on May 28th. And check this out. I said it'll be at 10:30 in the morning. Now, initially, I'm thinking, why would I do it in the morning? I should do it I need to do it at night. But what I found was there are some parents where I get it, both are working, but in most cases, if given 10 days in advance, a parent's like, oh, I can clear out 30 minutes of my day, right? I can clear out 30 minutes of my day for my son or daughter. And so what we did is I said, hey, what I'd like to do is I'd like to, since again, I can't do it in the office with food, I'd like to send a really nice bag of coffee to them. What's your address? And I got all these great messages. Oh my gosh, my dad thinks this is so cool. Thank you so much. And I just rolloed a whole bunch of utopian bags and sent them to our reps. Now, or our reps' parents, I should say. Do you have to do that? No, you don't. Okay, but this is what we did. I'm just telling you what we did. All right, so basically 10 days before the event, we did the invites and I rolloed all the coffee. So if you look at any utopian report, that's why I was the #1 utopian seller this summer at our company. I'm kidding, but
congratulations.
Thank you. Okay. So then what happened was Thursday, 10:30, we had our basically, if I could have done it over again, I would have turned Zoom on 15 minutes early like I did for training. Okay. Again, if I could have done, some of the times we ran 3 of these, one before each summer push. And it's not like I was trying to invite the same parent to all 3. All I wanted to do was I wanted to get the top reps on my team. I wanted the parents bought into our program, our division, me as their manager. And so somebody only really would have attended one of these. It did so happen that, and by the way, I had Trent speak at one of these actually, because they became so fruitful that as I was telling Trent, he's like, I would love to speak. So, and I don't remember if that's the one we recorded or not. I can check. But what's interesting is that one of my top reps, Kinsey, her mom was on the first one. And then all of a sudden I got a text from her. She knew there was another parents meeting. She didn't have to attend, but she was like, hey, my dad couldn't be on the first one, just my mom. Can my dad be on this one? And I was like, yeah, I sent the link. And at the very end of that one, he said, he just had this big grin on his face. Okay. And he was in sales. And he's like, I love what you guys do. I got to give my daughter some more people. All right, Dave, thanks. And I just remember thinking, that's why we ran this, right? All right, so let me get into kind of the nitty gritty of what we did.
Let me pause for just a second, if I could, Dave. I hate to interrupt you there, but as I'm looking at this, there's a lot of young faces here, and that is our business. I understand it, and I'm just trying to put myself in the shoes of a 23-year-old young district manager in our company, saying, well, what can I really offer there? You know, what am I going to add? Can I really add value? I'm not Dave Powders, you know, I'm not that, you know, polished or whatever. My encouragement to you would be to listen to the Changing Lives, Selling Knives podcast yesterday. Helen Brown is on that one. Listen to all of them. Anyway, go back and listen to John Oberg. By the way, that one last week was fire, just to encourage you of what is real about what our company does and our program does for people. You, I would say, and Dave is being, I think, humble here, but you are our greatest product. The knives are amazing. Hear me right. But as a parent, for me to be able to meet you, the district manager, that's the most compelling part of why they're going to pull out their leads book for their kid, is when they see you and they connect with you as their leader. Keep in mind, they're meeting teachers all the time. They're all haggard, and those teachers are used to getting just beat up by all the other parents. This is a very different experience here. When they meet somebody that their kid has been raving about, when they meet that person finally, like, man, you're Josh Thayer? Oh, you're Paul Fox? Oh, you're Case Koenig? Wow, I can't wait to connect with you, Lindsay. And when they do see what's going on, here's what's also amazing. Here's some of the things we didn't think about before. They're watching it from their office, so you get to see what's behind them. They're watching it from their living room. You get to see what's behind them. You get to see pictures of young Lindsay, right? You get to actually you're invited into their home, which is amazing. So we're gonna go a little deeper into the what there, but here's the most important thing, folks, is that you're selling you, and just by being you authentically, genuinely you, you're enough. You're going to make a sale. They're going to like you. So this would be one, again, I would encourage you to check with your division manager about how to implement it, but we can have more parent meetings going forward. Mr. Powders, give us a little bit more of a granular view of parent meetings.
Yeah. All right. So I just, again, if I could have done it over again, I would have turned on Zoom 15 minutes early, much like we do for training. But I remember the first one.
But why? What would you do with that?
It's just look, chit chatting and schmoozing with parents, because the first one that I did, I think I turned it on about 7 minutes early, turned Zoom on, and there was a skeptical dad with his daughter, and his daughter was doing pretty well. But I was able to answer a few questions early on. And then what happened was a positive dad showed up. I think it was Emma's dad. And he had his utopian coffee, right? His name's Mick. And he's like, Dave, this is pretty good. I said, are you drinking that right now? And he's like, yeah. And so what happened was the skeptical dad, I was able to, answer a question or two. And then he, just from listening to some of these other proud parents, like Mick was talking about, he was talking about just sales in general and how important it is to have communication skills and being able to sell anything. He's like, I love the experience my daughter's getting. This is great. And in that moment, right, I remember thinking, he is helping the skeptical dad far more than I am. This is great. And so Thayer had asked a question in the chat about would you have a parent on and do some Q&A? So we did three different parent meetings going into 3 different pushes. And it always started off with me introducing myself, telling my story. And then what we tried to do anyway, is we would go to, I would have Kyle speak as, hey, this was kind of the CSP opportunity, the Cutco through college opportunity. We had Joe Diaz speak about just the skills that he gained, the confidence that he gained. Obviously one time it was me, Kyle, and Trent. But if like for the next one, it would probably still be me and Kyle. But what I would do is I might have Mick, Emma's dad, and just do some Q&A with him. And I might even say, hey, here are 5 questions, Mick, that I'm going to ask you going in. And it might be, so he gets the chance to think about it. And then I would put him on the spot and just ask him some questions. And that way people could see a parent and how he went from being the skeptical parent at the beginning of the summer to, oh my gosh, the proud parent to, okay, she's going to do Cutco through college. So
I mean, I see
maybe
that
I should
Hans,
pause there.
And I see also that Hans is referring to, like, Danny Lewis spoke about running a weekly parent meeting. And it's funny because as Dave and I were like unpacking how awesome the experience was, I'm like, there's got to be somebody else doing this in the country. And it turns out Danny Lewis was doing it weekly already. And just in the comments here is saying, Danny Lewis spoke on running a weekly parent meeting after the team event each week, and that all reps can invite their parents to it, and that trainees can invite their parents to as well. Thoughts on running a parent meeting weekly? And I'll let Dave speak to that in just a moment. We do have Danny Lewis coming up in just a couple of weeks. I believe he's coming up after Dane. Dave, thoughts on running one weekly?
Look, I absolutely love the idea. The thing about Danny is he had a big staff. He had 7 or 8. I don't know how many AMs he had. So he was able to, things were still taking place in his organization where he could take 30 minutes out to do it. So I think, so Kyle even brought this up. Kyle Lopes brought this up to me a few weeks ago. He's like, we need another parents meeting, right? Because he's launched some sharp people since the last time we did this. And I agree with him. We do need to do it again. I don't know if I would do it every week. Maybe it's every other week. And it might make sense if you're thinking of you want to do this, then team up with other people. That way, you could get 3 or 4 offices together, or maybe it becomes a divisional thing. But I think every week without a huge staff, I think it might be a little bit much. Now, I'd love to know what Danny covered, and I'm very excited to hear about that. And I guess you said, is he Trent after? So Dane's next week, and then Danny's masterclass.
Actually, we've got Abramowitz coming up after Dane, and then we got Danny Lewis on the 17th of November. So mark your calendars for that one, because I'm pretty sure.
Cool. So Thayer asked, do you think this should be done on a divisional basis in the non-summer? Yeah, in the non-summer, I don't think you need to run it as often, because in the summertime, if you're launching, 20, 25, 30 active recruits a week, I mean, look what Danny did this summer, right? Danny does $1 million new, and he's like, we could have done 2 million. So yeah, it made sense for Danny to do it weekly. Again, I think right now the next one that we do will certainly be for the whole division. It would be reps that had never gotten a parent. We have a lot of people in Leadership Academy whose parents did attend this, but we have a lot of people in our TLA. They started later in the summer whose parents didn't get this. And I will tell you, the buy-in that we got, the first one that we ran, what was interesting was, I'm pretty sure every rep that we had attended, at least in the Walnut Creek pilot, every single person that attended, they got over 10 grand for the summer. The parents left the meeting. I mean, look, the meeting ends, and I've got this whole thing, but the meeting ends. I basically say at the very end of the parents meeting, there's 3 things you can do to help your son or daughter with the push. And I talk about, number 1, you can post on social media to help them get more appointments. And I talk about Chloe in Bellevue, Washington, and how she had her mom post, her dad post, her cousin post, and all these extra demos she got. The second thing I said, you can give your son or daughter more leads to call. And I talk about how when I was new, my mom gave me something like 15 people when I built my initial MAC list. But then when I showed them Cutco, she gave me 17 more, right? And throughout the summer, she was giving me more. And I talk about how the reason my parents gave me more throughout the summer is they saw that I was going to stick it out. And I said, I know if my daughter asked me for people, I could give her good people, but I want to see the effort on her side first. And I said, your sons and daughters, they're giving the effort. They want to do this. And then I just said, you can support and encourage them. Your support means everything to them. And, I just want to say thank you. And now you know where to find me. And that was my closing. And now, again, there's more to the meeting than that, but we intentionally timed them going into the pushes. That's what Ben Jackson did. That's what Senator Wiggins did. That's what Logan Franke did. And they would have these parent meetings right before push so that all their top people could get armed with lots of people to call going into push. And so that was just so the results we got from that were off the charts.
So Dave, a couple questions around who, right? So do you think this should be done on a divisional basis with the DVM leading? Whether it's summer or non-summer, I guess is one question there. You can already see some benefits of having a division manager and that confidence that they may have. And they've been through a few of these parent meetings before. They may have more confidence than the individual DM. But Dave, was there any cases where any of your district managers individually ran one, or was it they were all run by you?
They were all run by me.
And you had one or two speak at them, and when I say speak, 5 minutes, right?
Yep. It was like me for the first 10, and then it was and then when the next person would speak, I would say, hey, by the way, as Kyle is speaking or Joe is speaking or as Trent is speaking, I'm going to write my name, my name, phone number, and email in the chat box so that you have it. And by the way, if you have any questions as Trent's speaking, please feel free to fire away. And what was so interesting was, I think we had one I was anticipating the questions, like I'm ready for the negativity. And, the only comment I got was, wow, it's really cool you're hosting this. And I'm sitting there like, that's all you got? There's amazing. 41 of you and this is it, right?
I want to make a mention there too, Dave. You talked about Utopian. We kind of made a joke of it. Utopian, what was your investment there? You probably spent $100 on coffee to send out to the individual parents, right?
Depending on how many people we invited. I mean, I actually was recently looking at this. I did spend, I know for one of them, what was it? If I invited 10 people and it was $18 a pop roughly. So that's $180, but I think at one of them I spent $240, and let me tell you, totally worth it.
And folks, if you're wondering about this and you've got that giftology book in your office, read it and then let me know what your thoughts are on this one. When you add value before asking for anything, When you send coffee to their house and say, hey, I'd like to invite you for coffee, it'll be virtual, right? I don't know a way to deliver it via Zoom, so here's some coffee. Let's hang out. You're adding before you're making any ask. And then when they're on, you're not asking for you. You're asking on behalf of their kids, which is just part of the magic of how this works here. So one of the final questions here, Dave, and I'll let you decide how much time you want to spend here. We've just got about 20 minutes remaining. But Josh there asking, do you invite every rep parent or just the top reps parents? And by the way, is it just parents? Who do we invite?
I made a list going into the push of who are our top people right now that I want to get to this. And because I was spending money on the coffee, you're taking a bit of a calculated risk here. Like, all right, if I invite someone today, Monday, are they going to be in the business 18 days or 10 days from now, right? When we do this meeting. And so the funny thing is the first time that I did it, I invited, this was a Monday. So we had reps that just finished their first few days, right? Their first weekend. And I had a list of people, but I added to it 2. And one guy, I really liked him. He sold $600 first weekend, went to one of our best private high schools, and just like he was a baseball player. I played baseball. I connected well with him in training, and I'm like, I'm going to take a bet on him. Well, it turned out he was out of the business 10 days from then. But the other person was Haley Hansen. Haley finished as our #1 rep for the summer. She's currently an assistant manager. So the kicker is, it would have been easy for me to invite the top people on the team. But I did take throughout the summer, I did take a couple of chances, and some of them worked out and some of them didn't. But I didn't invite the whole team. No way. It was just, who are the people, right? If I had to draft an alliance right now, who would I put on it? And Carson and I are like, these 12 for sure. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to invite Nick and Haley because I think they could be big players for us. And it turned out Nick was not and Haley was.
Interesting. The report just came out, Dave. I'm not sure if you're even aware of this. You've been jamming here from the beginning, but Dave Powders, Bay Area Division, 59,486. That sounds like total business. How much of that is new, do you think?
That was all new.
All new. Congratulations on number one division for the week. That's pretty fired up. Guess we got the right guy. Or I don't know if you manufactured that. We should have you speak more often and just take number one. Let me ask you this, though, Dave. So there's a bit of a difference there between the strategic parent meeting right before the event, right? That's even 10 days out, than what Danny was doing. Is there any part of you that's tempted to experiment and pilot, if you had more support next year, to doing, and this is more for division managers that might be listening, a weekly one where we just all call, see how many we can't get out? Yeah,
I love that. I mean, look, if I were, I want to hear what Danny has to say about it, because it was probably the same amount of time ours was. I don't think it was very long. But if you can get new reps to show up to training and their parents are on board, I absolutely love that. The answer, there might be some sort of combination between the two, because we did talk about the leadership. The part of what I took from Brett, Logan, and Ben, we did talk about Leadership Academy and what it was and how it would start at the end of the summer, and how obviously we wouldn't let it affect somebody's grades, because if I as a DVM, I've pulled people out of the program if their grades slipped, because right. So like, there was a flavor of advancement to ours, and I don't know what Danny's is because I haven't seen it yet. So who knows? The answer might be next summer on a divisional basis. It's happening every single week, and then there's still 3 that are maybe lined up with coffee going into a push for the top people, so that there's that TLA flair to it.
This may be a nugget for folks here, but the tyranny of the either or. The tyranny of the either or. Does it have to be what Dave just described, or could you have both? The answer is, of course, you could have both. I don't know if we need to consider either or. Also, as a recruiter, I love Case's thought here, because even though we try to guess who will do the best, you truthfully never know. I know I've bet wrongly before. I've been blown away by who my top rep was. I'm like, wow, really, huh? I've also been blown away at people who I thought were going to crush it and did not. I've been blown away by who I thought was going to show to training and who did not, or who would finish and who did not. So, again, Case finishes with best to invite and let desire/effort sort them out, right? When you have an opportunity to fish with dynamite, let's do that. It's bad for the environment, but we're going to get a lot more fish this way, right? So Let's have that recruiting mentality, that abundance mentality. Let's see how many we can affect, how many we can influence, how many we can pull along, and see what happens there. So, Dave, final parting shots for parent meeting before we touch a little on productivity and retention of reps.
Yeah, I look, you can watch the video because I've got it recorded. We'll make sure you get access to the team builder doc and the recordings, and then that parent meeting. But you look, you all have people, right? If I'm in the Eastern region, and I know they have this big push right now, they're trying to capture the cup or hold on to the lead against Southwest. So they have this big fall classic push coming up. So it's like, if I haven't done something with parents, that's a good time. If I'm in the Southwest trying to hold them off, right, I'm thinking about the same thing. And so just because it's not summer doesn't mean we can't do this or some variation of this. And you're only going to get positive feedback from doing it.
So, Dave, your productivity's traditionally always been pretty strong. I love that you're making some moves here. In fact, I believe the Bay Area division has 20%. Is it 0 to 500? Is that the stat that we were talking about the other day? 20% in Bay Area. Reps over 3K, maybe is that the number?
That's what it is. Yeah, it was
reps over $3,000 in career sales. It's 20% in Bay Area, although I believe that the company average 30 is it 41%? No,
the zero. Yeah, the zero sellers. The average zero seller from the summer as a company, I believe, was 41%, and there were 3 regions, or I'm sorry, there were 2 regions that were pretty good in that. It was Central and Northeast, and then the other 4 were not as good.
Gotcha. And why is this an important discussion? Why is this relevant to your average manager right now? Why should we be talking about reps over 3K and getting our zero sellers down, lower?
Right. So I never really somebody who's been a DVM for a long time, they probably look at those reports of what percentage of our reps are selling nothing and how many are hitting 3K. It wasn't until February of last year, right before the pandemic, where I had dinner with Bruce, and he showed me. He showed me. He's like, I want to show you this report, and it made me want to throw up, seeing how many of us have this incredibly high percentage of reps that sell nothing. I mean, you got to realize when somebody goes through 2 or 3 days of training, they don't think they're going to sell nothing, right? They don't go in thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to sell absolutely nothing here. Their expectations are the program's going to work. And so the reason why that it started to catch my eye was that I saw how few reps were actually getting to 3K. Well, if you're not getting reps to 3K, how are you going to get them into TLA? The more reps you have that get to 3K, the more reps you have that get to 6K, 10K, the bigger your pool of development is at the end of the summer. The bigger your pool of development is at the end of this fall. I'll say that again, right? The more reps you have hitting 3K this fall, the bigger your pool of development is. When I heard Abramowitz talk about at SLC that he has a goal of a certain number of people getting promoted to TLA this fall, the way we used to do it was like however many people you started with in TLA, you were trying to hold on to everybody. You weren't necessarily adding. And yesterday I had a call with somebody just to talk about their future. It wasn't a true TLA interview, but we were taking the temperature to see, is it TLA for him or is he thinking CSP? But on Friday, I just accepted somebody into in our leadership academy from the Walnut Creek pilot. And then this Thursday night, I'm getting time with like 5 or 8 of Kyle's people that started late in the game, either late in August or they started in September. And now they're, 5, 6, 10, 12K that, yeah, we should get them into our leadership academy program. So I really believe that we should be looking at what percentage of our reps are selling nothing and what percentage of our reps are getting to 3K. And look, I don't believe there's this utopian world where none of your reps are zero sellers. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Stated positively, there's no world where everybody's going to sell something.
Yeah, you're gonna have reps that go,
sure.
Hey, I did a demo. Richard could launch 10 people and one of them does one appointment, say, Richard, great training, but it's really not for me. Okay. But if 8 of them sell, then only 20% were zero sellers, or if 9 of them sell, it's 10%. So I really think 20% I think Danny Lewis was at roughly that, and he was the best this summer. His reps over 3K was the highest and his zero sellers was the lowest, right? So this is something that we should be talking about and looking at. And when you hear reps who say, hey, I launched 4 reps this weekend, and all 4 made their first sale. That really matters. I know we talk about first weekend pop and all that stuff, but we really can have all of our reps making sales. And when that happens, you're giving them a fighting chance to get to 3K, which means they're going to start to figure the job out.
So, Dave, let's say I'm a new district manager or newer. How would I even find this number? How would I discover what my 0 to 500 number is?
So, I mean, look, you can find it on Vector Connect. There is, what do they call it? National New Rep Productivity. I'm opening up something right now. National New Rep Productivity. The one I'm looking at, this must have been at the end of the summer, but it says it's from Vector Connect. National New Rep Productivity. It was week 30. And you can look at it by division. You can look at it by office, and you can see what percentage of people, what percentage of people are 0 sellers, what percentage of reps get to 3K. You can see really good, right? I'm looking at Paige Weber, is that 36%? Yes, 36% of Paige's reps got to 3K. So I think we'd all agree, hey, that's pretty great, right? But there were a lot of offices and a lot of divisions that were at 15%, 18%. And it makes me wonder, are we training reps to sell Cutco, or are we just training reps to collect PRs? Because you're going to get way more PR names. In fact, you will have reps that don't give you many PR names that you can go back to. We had a rep, Silas, this is summer 2019. He was our number 1 team builder. He had 8 PRs that did, 60 grand of business. But I ran Silas's training in January. It was a one-on-one training, like January week 4. I did his name collection talk. I got 0. Woo! He has an $11,000 fast start. He also goes to our kickoff conference. So the next week, I have a conversation with him and I say, hey, let me ask you this. Tell me all the things you feel like you've learned in your first 10 days from selling Cutco. So he tells me all these things. I'm like, what value do you think you've gained, right? How could this affect other people? So he starts talking about the confidence, the skills, the positive attitude, all these things, the mentorship. And then I said, so Silas, I know when I asked you for recommendations, you didn't give any, but would you be open to us working together to help you be a team builder? And what happened was we had him just start sending some snaps. And he ended up getting 1 PR the next week, and then another PR a little bit after that. And then last summer he got 5. And then in the fall he got 1. And he ended up getting 8 PRs, all over 1,000. And this guy gave us 0 names.
So as much as I was describing fishing with dynamite, you decided there that you would go harpooning, and you went whaling, right? So you went and the sniper rifle, when you've got the right person, it does make some sense for us to go ahead and ask one-on-one to partner together to get some PRs.
Yeah, and here's a Kyle Lopes special. Kyle figured out this summer that when we collect names from them, they're not. I mean, look, some people submit everybody, but Kyle would do a variation of what I did with Silas. And so let's say somebody only gave him 57 names on the final day of training. So it might be 2 days later on Sunday night, and Kyle would say, hey, do you remember, Athena, when at the very end of training, we were running divisional training, so you should know that. So Kyle would say, hey, you remember how, Athena, when Dave mentioned the PR app and the PR program, and you recommended people, and you recommended 50-something people, and Athena's like, yeah, I remember that. And then Kyle would basically say, look, I know it was at the end of training. I know you were probably exhausted. You might not have even known what was going on. You might have thought, you might not have known what was happening, and you were just clicking some buttons to be done with that. But Athena, you sold $2,800 this weekend. And I would love, to be able to give you double credit on more than one day, which is so far what you've earned of double credit. And so if you were to remember the levels that we mentioned in training, right? If you recommend this many people, here's what you get. If you recommend this many people, here's what you get. And so Kyle would have people resubmit names on Sunday night, and he would end up, right? He would take somebody with 57, and all of a sudden he'd get 180. And Kyle would share that with us. And we had a lot of examples of this, of either in advanced training or right after advanced training, we would have follow-up conversations. And we learned that however many names they gave us in training did not have to be the final number.
You know, it's interesting. And even separate from that, I want to go back to it a little bit. You're talking about that one-on-one conversation with that one rep, and it's interesting because Katie sold last summer, and she went to a private school with, I mean, graduating class I think was 18 kids. So the random machine in her case wasn't gonna fit, right? So she didn't submit a bunch of names. However, she was very keen to get a handful of them going. So again, when I'm talking about harpooning or going for whales, I'm not trying to tell you that I'm advocating that we kill actual whales. I'm suggesting here that we get a lot more meat off that whale, though. So if we are going to go fishing right now, bringing a harpoon can make a lot of sense. Katie's one PR last summer did sell, I believe, it had a 6K fast start, might have sold 8 or 9 before it was all said and done. Had a great experience with that. So tell me a little bit more about how would you approach that one rep, one-on-one, to partner with them.
So, this happened early in the summer with Emma. It happened early in the summer with a handful of people. But basically at the end of their fast start. So instead of me calling someone and, inviting them to the team builder meeting, maybe this was part of the day 11 PC. And one of the things that we learned at the PR task force is that both Kathy, Kristen, and Danny Lewis, they do a really good job when they do their day 4 and day 11 PCs. They do a really good job of like showing the person, hey, here are all the people that you recommended. I know, Mitch, you've already launched a couple people, but who should be on the team right now that isn't on the team, right? And then it becomes, maybe they can do some 3-way texting. Maybe Danny calls them on the spot, but they really are aggressive at going after the best people. So with Emma, I talked about, Emma, you're somebody I want to build the team around. You're somebody I want to build the team with. And I know when you recommended whatever it was, 71 people in training, let me ask you this. Do you talk to most of your friends through text, or is it Instagram and Snapchat? And she's immediately laughing. Oh my gosh, it's only through Instagram and Snapchat.
Why?
Great. Talk to me about how many followers you have. And then it became, okay, what we're going to do tomorrow is I'm going to work with you and I'm going to help you level up. You already have 2 people on the team over 1,000, and let's see how high we can take this. And then Emma, obviously, I mean, she was the first to, I feel like she was the first to get every higher level this summer, 2, 4, 6, 8 to 11.
Sure. Wow. Makes me wonder if we should have a level higher than 8 for the trip. Once we start setting the bar, and even if it's like the trip stays at 8, but there's still something else for the Emmas.
There is. As a matter of fact, in the Eastern region, they do something like 8's the trip, but 10, it's like some $1,000 prize. Oh wow. Something just sick.
And it's automatic. Yeah. It's sponsored by the region, I would assume.
I'm pretty sure it's paid for by,
Scott finds a way. That's so fun. Not much time remaining here, Dave. I can't believe how quickly these master classes go. What tip are you talking about? Is that regional? Oh, the trip. Okay. So the question for Ryan Mitchell is, are we talking about a regional trip? Yeah. So where was the last regional payoff trip?
We have one for the January program to Mexico every spring. So if somebody gets 8 PRs, so in the summertime when we're talking about getting to 8 PRs, they don't just have to do it in the campaign. So they could get 6 PRs in the summer, and then going into the fall, they all have to sell over $1,000. But going into the fall, it's like, hey, Nesta, your mission is to get 2 PRs in these next few weeks, so that when Gilbert announces the contest on November 6th, should that be announced on November 6th, you're already like, cool, I'm going.
2 minutes left before we're going to hit the end record button. Dave, last word to you, my friend, and I'm going to stick around about 2:45 Eastern time here. I'm not going to hold you to that. You're certainly welcome to join for the after party. Last thoughts here on this new team builder program.
So we started by talking about having something to shoot for in the fall and spring, right? Programs that you're working for me, it was, hey, is this 150 active recruit number? And then after doing some digging, all right, maybe it's about 200 active recruits. But if you're working on programs in the fall and spring, you can go into the summer. You ever seen somebody like a DVM or region manager ask somebody on the company trip, hey, how are you going to grow Ryan next summer? And sometimes our answer is, oh, I'm 1 year more of a veteran in the business. Hey, Tina Marie, I'm just better than last year. And when I grew up in the business, my region manager, Amar DeVay, he would just call bull on that. He would say, you being a year older and wiser in the business does not get you extra business. So you wanted to be able to go into next summer saying, I'm going to run a team builder workshop every single week. And I believe that if I just get 5 people to it and we send roughly 700 snaps out, And then I can back that up with another 300 snaps later in the week, right? It's like if I can get 1,000 snaps sent out every week of the summer, roughly for 18 weeks, imagine what happens if you send out 18,000 of these. Imagine what happens if every single team meeting you have people posting on their story. Imagine what happens if you take advanced training 1, PR follow-up, day 4 PC, PR follow-up, day 11 PC, PR follow-up, team meeting, 3-way texting, right? Like there are so many things that if we, and you don't have to master all of these, but my question would be, what are you working on now? And what's your case for growth over these next 4 to 6 weeks, so that when December starts, you can go, okay, I feel like I'm good at this program. And then you've got, 4 months coming out of January to get good at another couple. Because when we go into the summer with confidence in programs, oh, it's so fun.
Take it from one who knows. He's reinvented himself and iterated many times. Dave Powders knows that you are not entitled to growth, and he has worked for every bit of the success that you're enjoying right now. Again, congratulations on number 1 for the week. Congratulations on an outstanding year. I'm going to say that I don't think there's a field manager I've spoken to more this year, even if they were quick hits. But we had a lot of half-hour calls this year, and I'm real grateful for that, Dave. The way you helped me think about the business, and I think a lot of the information from this call here specifically is going to really help a lot of people that are not only watching this live, but also will watch the replay later. So thank you so much for being an absolute student of the business and being, you call Brett Wiggins the senator. You are one of the original elder statesmen in our company, and I appreciate your efforts to improve and to invest into us. So, hey, how about some jazz hands for Dave Powders? Thank you very much, my friend. We're going to hit the stop record, but make sure you tune in next week for Dane Espegard. And as well, we've got replays that will be coming out here for Mr. Powders very soon.